that complaint alleged in detail that MindGeek, part of its business model, it wasn't just that child pornography, rape, and trafficking videos were on the site. This case is about those things, not constitutionally protected porn. They not only knew it was on the site, it was part of the business model. It was part of the business model to drive traffic to the site. And it wasn't just there. They then amplified it, wrote algorithms and playlists for people to watch more of it. And what we allege in detail in the complaint, and which the court passed on in this decision, was that Visa knew, I'll use the court's words, knew that MindGeek sites were teeming with monetized child porn, intended to help MindGeek monetize that child porn, and knowingly provided the tools to complete the crime. And with respect, so they knew. So the judge found that they were that we had alleged that they were part of a criminal conspiracy, which is entirely different. And our case is not about whether or not credit card companies should be policing particular people's views of porn generally or guns generally. This was illegal conduct that they knew about and decided to finance by allowing it to be run over.
Well, we're back again. When you look at certain lawsuits, and I'll tell you from what I've seen so far, you have to really read into it and read into the why are these companies being sued? What are the situations? And sometimes you'll notice that why were these people sued? Brought into there, because it seems like the habit is a lot of these lawyers. Nothing wrong with lawyers, right? But some, they'll drag everything in possible. If you happen to have a company that's being sued, they'll drag the employees in. They'll drag anything, the company that manufactured the machinery, even to the utility companies that puts the electricity into the building, and even the payment processors, which in this case, that's what we're going to be talking about here. We're talking about Visa, that was in the middle of a lawsuit with Pornhub, a.k.a. MindGeek at the time, which is now IO, if I'm pronouncing that right. But before we start and get into this, I just want to thank all of you out there for commenting, liking, sharing. And hey, look, if you haven't yet, we really do appreciate it if you take this moment and hit that subscribe button. It's really, truly important that we can move up in the algorithm. Yes, we have been a little bit short on content, but we're beginning our process back. It was supposed to be sooner than later, but we had some delays on stuff. We just received new equipment. Since we received new funding, we received new equipment, new computer. We're in the middle of wiring up the studio properly. In fact, we're going to be doing some live feeds soon. In fact, if you haven't seen me yet, I've been on one or two other live feeds, Culture Casinos and Sci-Fi Snob, also on Wednesday nights, late night. I've been on that stream, and I expect it to be on a couple of other ones from that particular site, talking about Babylon 5. So do give them a bit of love on their site and subscribe to their channels as well. So we're going to be reading this off of, you can find this on AVN News. Also, we're going to be reading it from the Courthouse News Service. Basically, judge tentatively dismisses Visa from Pornhub sex trafficking lawsuit. And this is a big thing because this lawsuit dragged in Visa. Why are you going to drag in Visa? Visa is just a payment processor. And they said, well, they knew what was going on. I said, what do you mean they knew what was going on? You knew that the head of Visa going in there and says, yeah, I know there's underage kids on Pornhub. How do you know that? You're going to have to put a lot of proof out there that they knew this situation. Remember, innocent until proven guilty. And that's the problem, especially with a lot of these porn lawsuits, is that they're just throwing a lot of these porn companies under the table and not reflecting to what true problem is out there of the sex trafficking that's out there. And the people, they're saying, well, we can't have this. They can't send people back, and this judge does this and this judge that. And you hear this all the time in the news just now of recent. What side do you want to pick, to that point? Do you want the sex trafficking or you don't want the sex trafficking? This is how you resolve it. You go through the processing of arrests, not going through litigations of stuff like this that basically it's hit and miss to the point. A federal judge on Thursday tentatively dismissed claims against Visa Incorporated and former owners of Pornhub from a group of lawsuits by women who were minors when sexually explicit videos of them were posted on the website. U.S. District Judge Wesley, I'm sorry if I mispronounced it, Hugh, held a second hearing on the motions to dismiss by MindGeek, the owner of Pornhub, the site's former owners, and its financial backers. After a hearing last month, the judge had asked for additional briefing regarding his personal jurisdiction over some of the defendants and regarding a recent Ninth Circuit decision whether the 2022 Abolish Trafficking Reauthorization Act applies retroactively. In a tentative decision, which has been made publicly available, the Joe Biden appointee agreed with the Visa that the company could not be held liable for the child sex abuse material posted on Pornhub, insofar as that they only conducted routine transactions in processing payments on the sites by the site's users. The judge, during the hearing, compared holding the payment processor liable for violations of federal sex trafficking laws to dragging an electric utility into court for providing power to run the website servers. Yes, you can't sue a website, a transaction provider, a payment provider for something they're not responsible for. They only take payments in. That's all they're seeing. Lauren, and I'm mispronouncing this, I'm sorry, Tabasplat, one of the attorneys representing the 15 women who filed individual lawsuits against Pornhub, argued that Visa was more complicit than that was made clear in 2020, when a New York Times article detailed the prevalence of child pornography on Pornhub, which is the Times story in itself has issues in itself. Similar to the Vice Media story on anime and manga. It's a similar storyline to itself. Following that bombshell expose, Visa pressured Pornhub to delete as many as 10 million videos from its site, according to the attorney. We need a discovery as to what they knew and what they were doing. Tapslat told the judge in trying to persuade him to let the claims against Visa proceed at this stage of the litigation. The judge noted that his tentative ruling dismissed the claims against Visa was indicative of his thinking on the claims against two hedge funds who loaned MindGeek hundreds of millions of dollars to run its business. The plaintiffs in the individual lawsuits opted out from the class action and behalf of the women who had videos of themselves when they were underage posted on Pornhub, often by former boyfriends. I'm going to read that whole line again one more time. The plaintiffs in the individual lawsuits opted out from the class action on behalf of women who had videos of themselves when they were underage posted on Pornhub, often by former boyfriends.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
One of them, the only one who didn't sue anonymously and who was featured in the 2020 New York Times story, said in her complaint that she was 13 when her boyfriend coerced her into making a sexually explicit video. She then learned that the boyfriend had uploaded the video on Pornhub, where it immediately went viral and was viewed by students at her school and others in her community. Now, let me ask a question. I'm going to ask this direct question out there. Okay, this boyfriend probably went to school with her, most likely. They were having sex, underage sex, which Why has, as far as I know, this boyfriend has not been held, accountable for his actions, for having sex. I mean, he could have been 16, 17 years old. Now, he was the one who uploaded the video. Now, understand, yes, Pornhub needs to pull it down. Obviously, they have that acquisition, but it was a third party that uploaded it to that point. Most people don't realize that situation. They don't take to the thought that, hey, this wasn't something produced by Pornhub. This was something that was what they call a homegrown video. Like, many people do it all the time. You see it on many different sites, OnlyFans and stuff like that. And it's uploaded. Now, they followed the processing. Most likely, probably, if he was at the time age gated, which he might have either a fake ID or he had an actual ID, he could be over the age of 18, which that's another situation in itself. And it got up on Pornhub, and meanwhile, this was taken down. By the time Pornhub caught up to this and taking it down, it was too late. So do you blame Pornhub to the situation? No, you should be blaming the person who uploaded it. They should be charged. That's the situation. And there were laws being put out. There are revenge porn laws out there. Continuing on, in a second tentative decision Thursday, which was only not made publicity available, the judge agreed with 3 former foreign owners and executives of MindGeek, as well as with the Luxembourg-based holding company, that he does not have personal jurisdiction over them. Yes, these are people that are out. The people that they're trying to sue are outside of this country. You would have to go to the court there. It's similar like what Hollywood has to go through basically they're trying to get piracy regulations being done. They have to go to the particular court in that country. Michael Bowe, another lawyer representing the 15 women, argued that this was in error because of the web of corporate entities that MindGeek had created was just a sham to evade taxes and run the risk of the plaintiffs obtaining a judgment against a business that only exists on paper.
Really?
It only exists on paper. It's a company. How can it? See, that's a weird thing to say, because if it only existed on paper, that means there is no Pornhub. That there is no place where it is. There are no servers. That this company it's just the paper that says Pornhub on it. I'm not a lawyer or anything to that situation. Remember, I'm not a lawyer. I don't work in the judicial system. But as a casual reader, as a casual person, well educated, if he's saying that it only exists on paper, that means the company is fake and it doesn't exist. But it does exist because we know that there is a Pornhub. Continuing on, those 3 people who ran the company can't just walk away because of fiction maintained by a handful of accountants and lawyers, Bowe said. If they're not in this country, you can't go after them. In fact, I believe MindGeek is a Canadian firm. So basically, to that point. The women's lawsuit pertained to MindGeek's business practices from 2013 to 2023, when Bernard Bergemier was the majority owner of the company that is incorporated in Luxembourg and run from Canada. In 2023, MindGeek was acquired by the Ethical Capital Partners, an Ottawa-based private equity firm, and rebranded as ILO. Whereas some of MindGeek's corporate entities aren't contesting, the federal judge in Los Angeles has jurisdiction over the claims against them. Others have been fighting it. One of the key questions for the judge to assert jurisdiction over these foreign individuals and entities, beyond whether there is so-called unity of interest among them, is whether letting them get out of the case would perpetrate a fraud, since the plaintiffs would be left with nothing. In a tentative decision last month, Hughes rejected MindGeek's argument that it was immune from the women's claims under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which shields websites from liability over the content its users posted. Although MindGeek's attorney, Arem Zarham O'Boyle, boy, that's a mouthful of words, names, renewed her argument that Pornhub is no different than other porn sites that have had similar claims dismissed. The judge observed that the women in the lawsuit before him specifically accused the site's moderators of helping users to post child pornography and make it easy for others to find it. Section 230, the judge observed, is a robust protection for online platforms against third-party malfeasance. It is not intended to protect MindGeeks from its own malfeasance, Hughes says. That's what is alleged here. But see, the thing about it is, okay, and we go back to the middle of this article, is this, a lot of this stuff was uploaded by boyfriends to this point. And basically, they were the ones who filmed it and put it on Pornhub. This is the same way if that particular boyfriend uploaded it to YouTube or Rumble or any other website, which it would have been taken down anyway. How long on YouTube, I don't know. Facebook, it might have taken some time. But the thing about it is, you have to put to the perspective that they're suing a company because that company knew that this was being uploaded. Now, understand, I don't work for Pornhub. I don't work on there. But I'll take it, for example, from my understanding of the business, because I work in the business. How many videos are uploaded to Pornhub, to YouTube, to Facebook, to Instagram, to TikTok? And we see this on a constant basis, okay? We see this on a constant basis on all these other sites. We get questionable videos that get put up on these social media sites. They get taken down. You know, you hear it in the media. Might be someone getting beaten up or killed or deleting themselves to the situation, or they're recording something that they shouldn't be recording. And in most cases, these companies are not held liable under Section 230. Now, according to what's being said here, they're saying, well, MindGeek at the time knew what was going up. Now, you got to prove that. I haven't seen evidence as of yet that's been put down. All I've been hearing is somebody uploaded it and it ended up on the site. Now, in order for it to get popular, understand, even if they put it forward, say, for example, they have an algorithm that says new videos get put forward. How many times have someone watched this video, or how many people have watched this particular video? How many times that this has been taken and re-uploaded? See, that's what you have to ask the question, because that's one of the hardest things. When you upload something onto the internet, especially to social media, it gets taken and re-uploaded and re-uploaded. And it takes a while to if it's something that's not supposed to be up, it takes time for it to be taken down. But also, the other hand is on the algorithm, is how did they put it up there? You have to ask yourself, what, as far as the way Pornhub works, how did they categorize it? And that's a big question in itself, because that's not what we're hearing. We're not hearing about the categorization and how this was uploaded. So basically, if MindGeek at the time caught on to this and they tried to take it off, and it took time, which I believe that particular lawsuit, it took a bit, but they did bring it down. And they said, well, it took too long. I said, you're not looking for one video. You're looking for multiple videos. And what if this particular guy uploaded it about a dozen times himself? That's another problem itself. Now, there is a company that I believe with MindGeek to point something like a Girls Gone Wild. which basically those guys are going to jail to the situation. And there's the other question to this point. And if that's part of the 14 girls, I'm not certain if it is, but from what I remember from that case, the situation was that they taped this particular situation, this sex act, whatever it was, and that supposedly they promised it wouldn't leave Australia. That it will be only on DVD in Australia. And I find that kind of you can't make that promise. There is no fucking way you can make that promise. Why? Not for the company itself, but for someone who buys the DVD. That person might say, oh, Jesus, this is great. I'm going to upload it, let my friends see it, or upload it onto the internet. Doesn't stop them from uploading to the internet. So, these lawsuits, you see that they throw at you, but they really don't, they just don't get into the major detail of who is truly responsible for this. They're going to go with whoever has the biggest pockets. And when the truth, in the case of the one particular case, it was the boyfriend, he should be held, liable to the situation. And if he's over age, if he's over 17 years old, 17 and over, well, you know where I'm headed on that one. That he's having sex with a 13-year-old. Where are the parents at this point also? That this is happening. That she's having sex at the age of 13. Has the parents chimed in? I haven't heard anything about the parents chiming in on this. And that's the other situation. I may be wrong. I could be wrong. Tell me in the comments below if you've heard this situation. Let me know. Because basically, it's you always hear what the media puts out and what's in the court filings. And that's it. No in-depth situations unless it's taped. So we'll continue to monitor this. Now Visa's out. We don't have to worry Visa on there. Maybe they'll stop going after the anime industry and manga. That ain't going to happen anytime soon because they're taking that same thought pattern with anime and manga on Visa itself. But like I said, comment, like, share this video, and hopefully today's the day I've earned your subscription. Of all the videos that you've clicked on mine, and I really do appreciate that. So until next time, thank you for tuning in. Check out all of our other videos here on Q2Cast TV, Man with the Show, and I promise you, Otaku Thursday is coming back soon. Don't worry, we're working on it. We're just trying to get ourselves back together again. So until next time, thank you for tuning in, and bye-bye now.